Having an open solar plexus center in human design is interesting because it can go one of two ways. You might be somebody who feels not very emotional and maybe even avoids emotions, or you might be somebody who feels super emotional and destabilized by emotions. Now, if you haven't guessed already, the solar plexus center in human design governs our emotions. And in today's video, I'm going to explain what it means to have this center open or undefined, which means it's going to be white on your chart. Now, for simplicity's sake, I'm going to use the term open to refer to whether you have the center open or undefined. And later in this video, I'll distinguish the slight difference between those two. Now, if you don't know me already, my name is Anna, and as an experienced human design reader, I find it really important to be aware of our open centers, because when we don't know how they operate, we can be taken really off track. With the open solar plexus center, you are designed to be deeply sensitive to the emotions, the feelings, and the moods, and even the needs of those around you. About half the population has this sensitivity, and the other half is always on an emotional wave, meaning that their emotions fluctuate up and down and are impacting those around you. I'm going to be speaking about emotions in a more mechanical sense because human design is not really a psychological system and should never be used in replacement for professional mental health support. Okay, disclaimer aside, let's get deeper into what it means to have an open solar plexus center. Being deeply sensitive to the emotions of those around you is a pretty classic definition of an empath, and indeed with this center open, you are designed to absorb the feelings and emotional landscape around you. Now, I quickly want to add that one of the gifts of having the center open is the potential for high emotional intelligence once you learn how to have strong boundaries. Now, wherever we have open centers, that's a clue to where we need to have stronger boundaries, because it's where we're designed to be more influenced and impacted by the energies around us. So with the open solar plexus center, you need to learn how to not personalize other people's emotions, which simply means not mistaking them as your own. Now, to complicate matters, you not only can absorb other people's emotions, but you can amplify them, meaning that you'll feel them even stronger in yourself than maybe the other person is feeling them. You might find that when you're alone, your natural state is cool, calm, and collected. That is correct for people with the open solar plexus center, to not feel very emotional when they're alone. Now, I want to list some of the gifts of having an open solar plexus center, because people often go straight to the negative with these open centers, especially if they over-identify as being an empath. So here are some of the gifts. Number one, your natural state, again, is being cool, calm, and collected. You have a gift for mirroring people's emotions back to them and giving them language for what they're feeling. You have the potential, again, for high emotional intelligence. And you're also really good at telling who is emotionally healthy and who is not. Now, you could see how these gifts could be really beneficial, for example, if you're a therapist or a counselor. So how do you arrive at these gifts and not be overwhelmed by other people's emotions? This is where the process of deconditioning comes in. That's just a fancy human design term for letting go what is not yours. So letting go of other people's emotions. Now, Ra Uru Hu, who is the founder of human design, says, open centers are like open windows. So I wanted to take that metaphor a step further. Let's say a bird flies into your apartment through an open window, and that bird is representing somebody else's emotions. You have a couple options. You could wrestle with the bird to try to get it out of your apartment. You could let it live in your apartment and make a mess of it. Or you could just sit back and curiously observe what it does, and eventually it will fly back out the window. And that's how other people's emotions should be experienced through curious observation. You could think of another bad metaphor, a fisherman on the shore. You know how sometimes fishermen fish standing on the beach? They're looking out at the waves. They're not in the waves with the fish. So remember, half the population is always on their emotional wave. And with this center open, you just want to sit back and observe their emotions and not try to fix them, and definitely not get enmeshed in them. Of course, this is not easy because, again, when you have the center open, you can amplify the feelings of those around you. So for example, let's say you're on the phone with a friend who's really upset. She might be upset at a level 5, but you feel her upset at a level 10. And even when she gets off the phone with you, you still are holding on to her emotions, even though she's released them because she got everything off her chest. Now, people who have this center defined, meaning it's going to be colored in on their chart, are coloring the emotional landscape around them and might not even be aware of their emotionality. Now, with this center open, you might be thinking that you're the one who is emotional and super moody. And this is where people can be really emotionally destabilized when they don't realize that they're constantly taking in the emotions of others. On the other hand, there are people with the center open who don't feel very emotional at all. And often these are people who are conflict avoidant, because one of the pitfalls of having the center open is being afraid of conflict. Now, these people can often fall into people pleasing or sugarcoating things. You might find yourself, if this is you, thinking, oh, I shouldn't say XYZ to this person because it will hurt their feelings. However, you might be suppressing your truth in the process. So a big lesson for you is to speak your truth and to have uncomfortable conversations. Now, this doesn't mean you need to enter every confrontation or conflict. Use your authority to really discern which conflicts are worth it and which situations you can just walk away from. Now, if you don't know what authority is, I will put a link below to a short that I made on authority. And if you are somebody who's conflict avoidant, just know that there is freedom on the other side of those uncomfortable conversations, freedom to be yourself. Oftentimes you might be hiding who you really are, and maybe that was the case when you were a child. You had to really hide who you are because you didn't want to rock the boat in your family, because you would experience all that emotional reactions. But now as an adult, it will really serve you to learn how to enter conflict and have those uncomfortable conversations so that people can truly see who you are and hear your needs. Now, another pitfall of having the center open is being somebody who's overly responsible for other people's emotions and is always trying to fix them. Instead, recognize that half the population is really here to be on this emotional wave, and you don't want to interrupt their process. What you could do to support them instead, if they want it, is to mirror their emotions back to them. They might be in an emotional storm and unable to give language to what they're feeling, and that is a gift of having the center open. You can really give language to what they are feeling. One practical tip to support you guys with the open solar plexus center is to take space. You can always leave the room, take a walk around the block, get off the phone if you're feeling really destabilized by somebody else's emotions. Let's say your partner has the solar plexus defined and yours is undefined. And now this happens often because opposites do attract in human design, and that's not a bad thing. But your partner comes home from work in a really bad mood, you might feel their mood, right, amplified. You can always just take a walk around the block and release those emotions that you picked up. It's also really good to be aware that your partner's excitement or even their needs can really influence your decision-making process. When you have the center open and you need to make a decision, it's really good to take time alone and out of the energies of other people, because their excitement can really influence your decision or their emotions or their emotional needs. And remember, one of your big lessons is to learn how to have uncomfortable conversations and to speak your truth. Now, my last tip is a kind of obvious one, but surround yourself with emotionally healthy people. You have the gift of being a good barometer for who is emotionally stable and who isn't. And if you're constantly feeling emotionally destabilized, I would really take inventory of who you have in your life. You get to choose who you have in your life, and I encourage you to choose emotionally stable people. Now, as I promised, I'm going to explain the difference between having the center open versus undefined. This is a more advanced understanding, and if you're new to human design, I would just skip ahead to the conclusion. Now, when you have the center completely open, it's going to be white on your chart, and there's going to be no gates on it. Gates are those little spokes that come out of the center. If you have it undefined, it's also going to be white on your chart, but you're going to have one or more gates coming out of it. Now, when you have this center completely open, you might feel even more vulnerable to the emotional energies coming at you. You might not know how to deal with other people's emotional energies and needs. You might not know how you feel and feel like something is wrong with you emotionally. And you might even come across as cold to others, even though you're not cold. I want to say in closing that whether you have the center or open or undefined, there is nothing wrong with you. Whether you feel overly emotional or not emotional at all, these are both really common experiences for having the center open. I really hope this video brought you greater insights so that you can move back to your natural state of calm and offer your gift of emotional intelligence to the world. In 2027, the Solar Plexus Center is going to come more online, meaning that as a society, we are meant to move to a greater state of emotional awareness and even spiritual awareness of our oneness. So until then, let's not avoid each other and each other's emotions and cultivate more and healthy empathy and compassion for each other. Until my next video, take good care of your energy and of each other. Bye.